would like to call the Monday, March 25th, 2024 Blue Springs Planning Commission meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Morton?
Here.
Commissioner Howe?
Here.
Commissioner Stokenberry?
Here.
Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Sanderson?
Present.
Commissioner Henning?
Here.
Commissioner Graham?
Present.
Commissioner Rohr?
Present.
Chairperson Craddock?
Present. Thank you and welcome everyone this evening and those watching from home. Tonight's agenda consists of item 1A, the minutes from the March 11th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Items 2 and 4, rezoning and general development plan for the 105 Southwest 9th Street fourplex. Items 3, 6, and 8, rezoning, plan development concept plan and preliminary plat for Adams Ridge. Items 5 and 7, general development plan and preliminary plat for Hudson Estates. Item 9, site plan design review with alternative development standards for Timothy Lutheran Church. Item 10, other business and adjournment. At this time, I would entertain the motion on the consent agenda for the approval of the March 11th, 2024 meeting minutes.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Graham. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Stokenberry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carried. I will open the public hearing for agenda items 2 and 4, rezoning RZ-02-24-9044 and general development plan GDP-02-24-9045 for 9th Street fourplex. I will ask for the exhibits from our city attorney, Mr. Mullane.
Staff admits exhibits 1 through 8 under item 2 and exhibits 1 through 8 under item 4 as shown on the agenda.
Thank you. All those who wish to speak, please stand to be sworn in. This includes staff, applicant, and any of the public. At this time, I will ask for staff's presentation. Mr. McCumber.
Dave McCumber, 903 West Main Street on behalf of the city. Tonight before you have a planning application that was submitted by Ashley Clements of the Clementine Group on behalf of the owner, Kanda Corver, to rezone the property from T3 suburban to T5 urban center. The property is located at 105 Southwest 9th Street. In addition to the rezoning, there's also a request for a general development plan for an apartment building that's within the existing residential structure on the property. The existing land use on the property is a legal, non-conforming boarding house as it sits today. The proposed land use is an apartment building. The city's comprehensive plan has the property or this general area, it designates properties across the city for future land uses. This particular area of the city does not currently have a area-specific plan. There was not one created that's available for it, but there are some other areas of the comprehensive plan that do touch on suggested categories for future uses and things of that nature. Specifically, this downtown area is highlighted as a distinct destination. It's summarized as emphasizing a mix of land uses that support street and pedestrian circulation systems, civic open spaces, and creating a defined focal point. Currently, the uses on the property is a 6-unit boarding house. There's a carriage house / garage and other smaller structures out there today. The proposal is to convert the property to a 4-unit walk-up apartment building and without any current other changes or modifications to other structures on the site. So some of the proposed improvements with this application, currently today there is a gravel parking lot that exists on the north side of the property along the city alleyway. They're going to be paving that and bring it up to UDC standards, including 4 spaces, which is a downtown development code requirement, 1 space per unit. So they'll be meeting that requirement. They'll also be providing bicycle parking. They're also going to be including pedestrian connections in the form of sidewalks that lead people from the parking spaces to each of the building entrances. And then another item that they have noted is that they'll be burying the overhead electrical service from the power pole to each of the meter cans on the property. Some of the other improvements that's been provided is the actual conversion to the apartment building, exterior painting, window replacement with like style and color windows, and then other minor exterior building improvements. The existing land use is no longer allowed in any of the zoning districts under the Unified Development Code. The conversion to a less dense apartment building requires rezoning to T5 where the building type is permitted. The proposed zoning gives the ownership flexibility on the site for future development. However, if significant changes to the property do happen later, it would require a revised general development plan. The zoning change also better aligns with the goals listed in the comprehensive plan and downtown master plan, which both emphasize mixed uses, adding residential units, and providing unique experiences to the downtown area. With T5 zoning directly adjacent to the property and potentially in the future on the property to the east, the request is justified and is supported by staff. The general development plan makes a concerted effort to meet the city's current downtown development code and more broadly the Unified Development Code, which can be challenging when retrofitting a property of such age and historical significance. What has been proposed is considered an upgrade to the property and is likely to have a positive impact on the surrounding area. The applicant has chosen to renovate the existing structure, which was constructed in the 1890s and is considered historic, instead of proposing to demolish it and start new. This decision helps to protect the character of the immediate area as it relates to the architecture, building mass, local history, and overall site design. It also retains the historic visual relationship between itself and the neighboring properties. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning application. Staff also recommends approval of the general development plan with alternative development standards and 1 condition. And with that, I'd open up for questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCumber. Does the commission have any questions for staff? Okay, would the applicant like to come forward and speak? Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Ashley Clements, do you want my office address or my personal address? Oh, just kidding. 105 Southwest 9th Street.
Thank you very much.
I am a Blue Springs resident, though. I wasn't sure if that's what you were asking, but. Hi, I'm Ashley Clements. I am the owner of the Clementine Group, which is a property management company here based out of Blue Springs. I am the applicant for the owner. She is out of state, but she is very in love with this property, and so am I. From the minute we saw it, we loved it. It's beautiful charm. We love downtown Blue Springs, and we would just really love to revitalize it. So we're asking for the rezoning from T3 to T5. Next slide, Dave. My 4 slides, so we're gonna go over the current home, our plans, the building permits, and then the future of the property. The current home is single-family non-conforming. It is dated 1890. There is an addition that you can see on the back of the property that includes 5 units. The city is not sure when that was added, and so we would like to bring it up to code because it currently is not up to code. I walked several of the city council members through the property when we were under contract for it. The utilities are not up to code. During escrow, the utility line actually fell to the floor, and so that they had to come back out and put that up, and it is temporary, and that's why we will be doing the underground because it needs to be updated. Also, there is only 3 meters to the property for water, sewer, and gas and electricity, so we'll be updating it to 4, so each unit will actually have its own electricity and be able to have its own utilities. Egress is not up to code For the addition, there are 2 stairwells. Neither one of them meet the code, and they don't have 2 railings. One of them is not, the stairs are not big enough, so we want to make sure that it is safe to get in and out of the property. This is the floor plan of how it currently looks. So on the left is where you have the upstairs that has the number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. So when they did the addition, those number 3, number 4, and number 5 are just bedrooms. They have a closet and that's it. They share a bathroom. So that's the boarding house. And our idea is to actually put a wall and a door where you kind of see number 5 and touch that side of the wall. It'll be noted in additional slide. And then a kitchen along where that bathroom is in the home. So we will be combining number 3, number 4, and number 5 to a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. That'll be the 4th unit. So our plans, we will be reducing the total number of rented spaces from 6 to 4. We will update all units, including utilities and point of entry, egress, add kitchen and exterior door to make the 4th unit, bring entire property up to code, and add a fire suppression system throughout all 4 units, add paved parking for the 4 units, and clean and maintain the landscaping. As Dave noted, there are several structures out there. One of them is including an outhouse that actually has a toilet in it. So we want to completely get the property up to 2024 code, and that includes all of those small buildings. It's color coded, so you can kind of see where the house is versus the number 2, number 3, and number 4. Number 2 and number 3 are stacked directly on top of each other. And you can see on the right side where it has that door, that's that 2nd stairway that's currently there now. And then number 4 would just be that, the bathroom, and then the 2 bedrooms and the living room. And then I brought a closer view so you could kind of see the change that's going to be in that number 4. It's just adding a kitchen and then that exterior door to the room. And then so that stairwell will have an entry for 2 doors in that entry. All work and updates will be completed with approval through the city through building permits. The contractor has already submitted his plans and requested for the permit at this time. And plans for the future, we will update all 4 units and then rent them to anyone who is wanting to rent them in downtown Blue Springs. And then ongoing maintenance, all the house and the 3 apartments and the lot and landscaping will be regularly maintained, including the driveway that is shared with the other units. That is all from me.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant?
I have one. Can you go to this screen? Well, it doesn't much show the color there, but I was under the impression that you were going to paint the building these colors.
No, those are
And
just
I
to show.
just realized seeing your slides that we did not have access to, that it was color coded for the units. But my initial impression was, well, that is a fun, eccentric, and different color floor plan for such an old building, and I actually kind of liked it. So even though that's really not much for the project, I just had to add those comments. So I hope you painted something fun.
It'll be like a dark blue color with light colored trim and like
Exciting.
a wood colored door. We just wanted it to look updated and modern.
Looks like a
Sorry
good
to
project.
disappoint with the multiple colors.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the project? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition of the project? The public comment section of the public hearing is over. Any further discussion from the staff?
No.
Any further discussion from the applicant? Any discussion from the commission? I will close the public hearing. I will now ask for a motion on the rezoning.
Chair.
I have Commissioner
Yep. Yeah, I'd move to approve RZ 02249044, the rezoning for 105 Southwest 9th Street fourplex.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Henning. This will be a roll call.
Commissioner Rohr?
Aye.
Commissioner Graham?
Aye.
Commissioner Henning?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Morton?
Aye.
And Chairperson Cradoff.
Aye. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, April 1st, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. I will now ask for a motion on the General Development Plan with Alternative Development Standards.
Chairman,
I have a motion from Commissioner Henderson. Hennings.
move to approve GDP 02-24-9045.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. This will be a roll call.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Henning?
Aye.
Commissioner Graham?
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr?
Aye.
Commissioner Morton?
Aye.
Chairperson Cradoff.
Aye. That motion carried with 2 staff conditions. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, April 1st, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. I will now open the public hearing for agenda item 3 and 6, rezoning RZ-12-23-8998 and Plan Development Concept Plan PDC-12-23-8999 for Adams Ridge. Agenda item 8, preliminary plat, will be heard concurrently. I will now ask for the exhibits from our city attorney, Mr. Mullen.
Staff admits exhibits 1 through 8 under item number 3, and exhibits 1 through 8 under item number 6 as shown on the agenda.
Thank you. All those who wish to speak, please stand to be sworn in as a group. This includes the staff, the applicant, and any of the public.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. At this time, I will ask for the staff's presentation. Ms. Bright.
Adair Bright, 903 West Main Street, on behalf of the city, and I have been sworn in. The next items on the agenda this evening are requests for a rezoning, a PD concept plan, and a preliminary plat for Adams Ridge, a proposed single-family development located south of Southeast Sunnyside School Road and west of Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway. The current property includes one parcel on approximately 51.06 acres and is zoned agriculture county. The first request is to rezone the subject property from agriculture county to planned development residential. The 2014 comprehensive plan included the subject property as neighborhoods, which are defined as areas for residential living arranged in a connected pattern of streets and blocks to provide access to civic and neighborhood amenities. The C2 area plan classifies the subject property as detached housing mixed with small-scale multi-unit housing. The intent of the PD zoning district is to encourage unique and high-quality neighborhoods, commercial or mixed-use development through an integrated development plan that provides flexibility to the standard zoning district regulations. Through the PD zoning, the applicant is proposing 3 planning areas. Planning Area 1 is north of Blue Branch Creek and includes single-family residential with standards identified by the plan development. Planning Area 2 is the Blue Branch Creek area and is classified as park and open space and will utilize the standards in the UDC for the Public Land and Open Space Zoning District. Planning Area 3 is south of Blue Branch Creek and is a tract for future development, which will require an amended PD concept plan, preliminary plat, PD final plan, and final plat approval prior to development. The second request is for a PD concept plan covering the entire 51.06 acre property. The proposed development includes 138 single-family lots and open space tracts for a trail and a playground. The property is proposed to develop in 2 phases, with the existing creek being the dividing line.
The north side of the site, Planning Area 1, includes all the single-family residential and is expected to be complete by the end of 2027. The south side of the site, Planning Area 3, does not yet have a development timeline and will remain undeveloped as a tract. The applicant is proposing 3 total access points, with 1 being off Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway and 2 being through the adjacent neighborhood Keystone Estates, which has direct access to Southwest 7 Highway and Southeast AA Highway. The access onto Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway will include 3 turn lanes, with 1 being for traffic entering the neighborhood, 1 for traffic turning left or going northbound onto Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway, and 1 for traffic turning right or going southbound onto Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway. The 10-foot wide multi-use path along Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway will remain, and the applicant will be required to install 5-foot wide ADA compliant sidewalks on both sides of the proposed streets. The PD has also stated that the development will allow for a block greater than 800 feet in length, which is the maximum in the UDC for the street classification proposed. The proposed land use is detached housing, and the proposed density is approximately 2.7 units per acre, which includes the acreage in Tract H, the future development area. The proposed building type for the single-family homes follow standards specified in the plan development. There will be rear-loaded and front-loaded homes to create a more diverse housing stock and pedestrian-oriented development. The minimum frontage width is 32 feet with 5-foot side setbacks. The front and rear setbacks will vary depending on whether the home is front-loaded or rear-loaded. The minimum lot area is approximately 4,300 square feet, and the standards have stated that the garages may exceed 25% of the front facade. Staff is supportive of the balance between the rear-loaded and the front-loaded homes, which will create a unique neighborhood. The elevations provided show 2-car garages, which will meet the off-street parking requirement of 2 spaces per dwelling unit. The standards provided specify that the driveway may occupy a maximum of 61% of the front yard, and the driveways will be 20 feet wide. The UDC only allows for 50% of the front yard to be covered with driveway, and the width can be up to 35 feet wide. The standards also state that all homes will have direct access to the public sidewalk from the front door. Rear-loaded homes will have the sidewalk directly from the front door to the sidewalk, and front-loaded homes will have a sidewalk from the front door to the driveway, which will connect to the public sidewalk. Staff believes the emphasis on connectivity reinforces the intent of the development. Since the proposed zoning district is most similar to the SF7 zoning district, the applicant is required to provide a minimum of 10% open space. The applicant is proposing 27.55 acres remain as open space, and of the provided open space, 11.36 acres will have amenities for the residents, such as the trail and the playground. The applicant has provided a conceptual landscape plan, which will be reviewed in greater detail with the PD final plan. There is a table provided in the staff report referencing the required plant units and fences if applicable. The applicant intends to preserve as many trees as possible along Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway and will still be required to comply with the landscaping requirements identified by the Development Code. The PD standards have outlined architectural design standards. The standards state that a mix of ranch and conventional style homes with a variety of elevations, color palettes, and masonry materials will be provided. The standards also state elevations or color tones within a block of 6 will not be duplicated. All front-loaded houses will have decorative garage doors that may include windows, and there will be no less than 25% of wainscoting of masonry on the front facade, and varying amounts will be included to provide variety. Since there is not an established minimum livable floor area directly adjacent to the development, the UDC states the Planning Commission shall designate one. The applicant is proposing a minimum livable floor area of 1,100 square feet. The property to the west, Keystone Estates, does not have an established minimum floor area, but the block directly adjacent to the development has an average building area of 1,107 square feet per Jackson County. Although the applicant is not developing directly adjacent to Parkway Estates, and staff believes the stream is a substantial buffer, the minimum livable floor area for Parkway Estates is 1,600 square feet. The established minimum floor area must be noted on the final plat. The final request is for approval of a preliminary plat, which includes 138 lots and 8 tracts. Staff reviewed the rezoning request under the 9 review criteria included in the staff report and finds that the request is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. The proposed zoning and development of the site with the PD zoning designation is appropriate since the development is on an arterial and is relatively close to the intersection at Moreland School Road. Approval of the application could encourage development of vacant property along the parkway and create a precedent for site design, with the focus being pedestrians. Denial of the application would result in the property maintaining a county zoning district that is not permitted by right in the city and could discourage unique and innovative developments. Staff feels that rezoning to planned development residential would allow for a greater diversity in housing stock and allow for a unique type of development that has not yet been executed in this area of the city. Based on this review criteria, staff recommends approval of the rezoning of the site to PD residential. Staff reviewed the concept plan under the 7 review criteria included in the staff report and feels that the development will not have an adverse effect on the surrounding area based on the site design as well as the additional investment that is likely to have a positive impact. The PD concept plan is in compliance with the comprehensive plan, including integrating housing into neighborhoods and promoting development that reinforces the importance of the public realm. Staff believes requested modifications have been offset by enhancements including amenities for residents, which are the green spaces throughout the development, sidewalks to connect pedestrians to all parts of the development, and sound urban design practices. Based on this review criteria, staff recommends approval of the PD concept plan with 3 staff conditions. Staff also recommends approval of the preliminary plat with 6 conditions, and I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Are there any questions for the staff from the commission? I'd like to know, is there a proposed or current plan to improve Double A?
Not that I'm aware. Jim, would you know at all?
That's still in the pre-design phase to upgrade Route Double A
Okay. Thank you.
within the city.
I have a question.
Commissioner Henry.
I could not find anywhere in here, do these homes include basements or are they slabs?
These are all slab on grade, but I believe the applicant could speak more to that.
Any other questions from the commission? Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and speak? Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, Dan Foster with Schlegel, 14920 West 107th Street, Lenexa, Kansas, representing Roush Coleman Homes, which representatives are here tonight, as well as representatives from Bushy Head Law, and I believe our traffic consultant has also arrived. So for over 65 years, Roush Coleman have helped families better their lives and achieve their dream of home ownership. And most of you are probably familiar with them as a current builder within the city of Blue Springs in the project of Cambridge. And so they're already here in the city and are looking forward to doing another project here in the city as well. As staff stated, our client is requesting approval of rezoning from AG Agriculture to PDR and to approve a concept plan and preliminary plat for 138 lots in a single-family neighborhood. So as you're aware, the 51-acre property was annexed into the city in October of 2023. Prior to the annexation, our client reviewed the comprehensive plan, including the C2 area plan, and discussed with staff the potential development of the parcel, and determined that the use was proposed with this plan would be in accordance with that comprehensive plan and the C2 area plan. The staff report and presentation provided a great explanation of that plan in the C2 area. We agree with that, so I'm not going to spend any more time on that specific particular subject. I do want to spend a little bit of time on the goals. The staff report did note that the project does comply or has elements that would help the city comply with image goal number 4. But in addition to that, the comprehensive goal that was mentioned, the project also aligns with several other goals within the comprehensive plan. In the elements that the project contains, meet some of the places framework goals, including providing a neighborhood identity through the park space that we're putting on our front door, increasing access to recreational amenities, again with the park space connection to Keystone Park, adding gathering spaces within a 10-minute walk, integrating housing choices into neighborhoods and corridors. This will be a new housing choice for this particular corridor. Another portion of that is that the project contains is under the image framework goals, which is increased tree canopy through streetscapes. So we'll be providing street trees along all the streets, as well as tree preservation for as many of the trees as we can possibly save along Adams Dairy Parkway within the stream corridor, adding buffers, trees along that buffer along Adams Dairy Parkway. And then the final one is in the connections framework goals, which is to provide connection to pedestrian routes and to complete bicycle and trail network. And so our particular plan includes connecting the trail along Adams Dairy Parkway to Keystone Park, which we feel very early on felt like that was a very important thing to accomplish, not only for the city of Blue Springs, but for our project as well. So the proposed plan also has elements that will help the city meet several of the C2 area plan strategies, including landscaping along Adams Dairy Parkway, which was in the 1 to 2 year goal range, providing a trail that I mentioned, which was in the 2 to 5 year range in the document, and provide trails along the stream buffer, which is also within that 5 year time frame. So Roush Coleman Homes have their own project goals that they bring to just all of their projects. And many of those also align with the city's comprehensive goals. And those goals include establishing neighborhoods of families with a sense of community that enhance the pride of owning a home, enhancing connectivity by designing interconnected streets, improving walkability by installing interconnected sidewalk system throughout, more of a traditional neighborhood structure in terms of street pattern, lot arrangement than what you would typically see, and amenities within close walking distance to all of their residents, quality architecture, and a range of homes that are attainable and desirable for many people in several phases of their life, whether it be young, old, etc. So in talking with staff, we kind of went with the PD concept plan route as those goals within that particular code section met more in alignment with what they wanted to do here as far as proposing, and it allowed us to bring a product to you that we couldn't do under a standard zoning district. That's the whole point of the PD goal, the PD concept plan zoning portion. So of those, we're providing amenities to enhance the overall quality of life, improving quality design, and also bringing a product to the city that isn't readily available at this point, and creating a diversification in housing type. So based on the discussions with staff, the C2 area plan, comprehensive plan for this site, is represented by detached housing and small scale multi-unit. That's from the C2 area plan. Those are the two designations. I wish she didn't put up the slide, but it's if you recall that plan, it's yellow, orange with striping, and so it indicates a higher number of units within this particular parcel. The compact lot and the small lot building types out of your code were the closest to representing the intent of that plan. They didn't fit it exactly, you know, so we're using a little bit from each one, and again, that goes back to the idea of why you do a, you know, plan development type of project. Most of the entire lots on this do fall into some of those criteria and standards from each one of those. So it's not specific. Like, for example, the compact lot has a maximum lot size of 4,500. Well, we have lots that are greater than 4,500 square feet. So we didn't fit that exactly within that specific requirement. But the small lot allows you to go a little bit higher. So that's kind of the criteria that you have to look at when you're looking at this. Just to explain the plan as I go through it, first of all, just to make sure everybody knows left is, or the north is to the left up there. The plan is rotated. So the project has two phases, which is the proposed neighborhood to the north, which is where all the lots are, and then a future development parcel, which is not showing any lots at this point. Roush Coleman is probably likely not the developer of that piece of property. They're looking to have another person potentially purchase that and do something different. So we don't know what that ultimately will be. And so we drew that kind of out of this plan in terms of showing the lots. It's still part of the PD concept plan, but it'll have to come back before you guys with a very specific plan for your approval. So I won't spend any time on that portion. I want to focus my time on the lotted portion. In order to provide connectivity as required by the city, 3 access points are provided. So there are 2 existing access points out of Keystone Estates, and that's the purpose of why those were extended to this property, is so that this property would be able to connect to those. Otherwise, there's the other 2 directions, south and north, there's nowhere for us to connect to. And so then our only other connection would have been, which we do have, is to Adams Dairy Parkway. That allows not only our residents, but residents to the west of us to be able to get over to Adams Dairy Parkway and for us to go the other direction. So it's an interconnected system, so you're not loading it all up onto one specific area. There are two types of lots within this. One's a front load, one's an alley load. The front load garages are proposed along the perimeter and along Adams Dairy Parkway, where the alleys are really not feasible. Alley lots are more internal to the block, and then the streets are arranged in more traditional grid-like pattern, and so it's a what we call kind of a modified grid, and they're arranged so that when you come in off from Adams Dairy Parkway, there is no direct connection from Adams Dairy to either one of the Keystone roads. You have to make a turn to get there, and that's part of a traffic calming measure that we put in, so that to get through the subdivision you have to make a right or a left turn so that somebody wouldn't just be zipping through back and forth across there. Additionally, the street pattern allows for us to have sidewalks that connect throughout the entire development. Sidewalks are on both sides of all streets, and so they connect down to the park space and then interconnect so that somebody could walk a block or walk a couple blocks for exercise. The average lot size is 5,200 square feet that we're proposing here. And of those lots, we have 46% that are rear loaded, and 54% will be front loaded, which again will create that kind of unique neighborhood in terms of 2 different product types. The staff mentioned that we do have some, Roush Coleman has what they do, I call it monotony, but basically they have a policy by where they don't have any more than, they do it in blocks of 6, not so that the same elevation isn't ending up adjacent to one another. Each lot will have 2 off-street parking spaces, and in order to provide the 2 car garages, the driveway will need to have approximately 62 square feet more of additional area than typical. That's one of the things that with the lot sizes that we're proposing here, The PD standards and the staff report can provide more information on setbacks and that kind of thing, which I'm assuming you guys have all read. So one unique aspect of the plan that we, again, developed very early on in the process was the concept of having the park of this project be in the front door, and that it would actually connect from Adams Dairy to Keystone Park. That now kind of brings Keystone Park up to Adams Dairy Parkway, if you will. That park will contain a playground area, open field areas, a trail system that would connect that, and then there are sidewalks that will connect from our development into the park trail. The open space also includes a buffer tract along Adams Dairy Parkway that has preserved vegetation, newly installed trees, and a berm and a fence. Currently, we're showing a berm. That's what we would prefer over a fence. You know, once we get in there and start really looking at it, you know, we may have to go portions of the fence, portions of the berm, but for the most part, that entire area where the lots are backing up to Adams Dairy Parkway, have considerable buffer there. The narrowest point's like 30 feet, and that's right at the entrance. But then from there, it just increases to a much more significant distance. And we are planning a berm and extensive landscaping there. Including the park, the open space provided in this project is 27.55 acres, which is more than 5 times the amount that would be required for a similar zoning district. Architectural design standards, they offer a mix of ranch and conventional style homes with a variety of elevations, color palettes, masonry materials to create that diverse streetscape. Available floor plans and the conceptual renderings were in your packet. Roush Coleman Homes developed some blocks of 6, as I mentioned, and restrictive covenants will be adopted and recorded for the PD with the subdivision final plat. So architecture elevations must go through a typical city development review process as well as Roush Coleman's review. All homes have roofs with dimensional asphalt shingles. Garage doors will be a mix of designs to include some with windows, some without windows, different styles. There will be no less than 20% of the wainscoting masonry on the front facade. However, varying amounts of masonry may be included for more variety. Roush Coleman Homes is anticipating that the price of the homes would range from $280,000 to $320,000. When Roush Coleman Homes received approval for the Cambridge project for you and the City Council, there was questions about whether it would be owner occupied, and at that point they stated they would do everything they could to attempt to get those to be owner occupied, and they've been very successful in making that an owner occupied project. This project, from the get-go, the intent is that it will be an owner occupied project. The intent of the PDR district is allow innovation and development in a way that consists to implement the city's comprehensive plan and many of the goals and objectives of that plan. And we feel that this plan meets that intent, what was shown on the comprehensive plan, what's shown on the C2 area plan. Our client has read the staff report and agrees with the stipulations. Roush Coleman Homes is looking forward to bringing this unique project to this community. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And we would like to have an opportunity to respond to any questions or comments that may come up from any adjacent resident comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
The alleys. What's the surface of the alley?
I don't know that we've landed on that at the moment. I mean, it's going to be paved, obviously, so it would be either asphalt or concrete. I don't know that we've actually gotten into that specific detail.
And how wide are the alleys?
The alleys, as we have shown them right now, are 20 feet, which is what we are doing in other similar alley-loaded projects in New Longview and other areas of the city.
Any other questions from the commission?
Chair.
Commissioner Rourke.
So I'll ask the traffic question again like I always do. So the traffic is coming out on Adams Dairy, and of course you don't know how many of those are gonna come out on Adams Dairy and the other one's 7 Highway. So all the traffic study showed that's all gonna move.
Yeah, actually,
Flow.
well, I could have our traffic consultant address that just because
Okay.
she knows it better, backwards and forwards better than I do, so.
So I assume the traffic study said it's gonna, everything's gonna work along Adams Dairy and 7 Highway, pretty much the way it's working right now?
Yes, do I need to state name and address before? Okay. Amy McCurdy, McCurdy Engineers. My address is 420 West 123rd Terrace, Kansas City, Missouri, 64145.
Thank you.
Okay, so your question was if we were showing a majority of the traffic there on Adams Dairy Parkway?
Well, I mean, I don't know, you guys know for sure where all the traffic is gonna come out of. I mean, are they gonna come out on the west side or the east side?
Yes, so the traffic impact study did show some traffic filtering through the neighborhood to the west, but the primary access point will be there on to the east, and the level of service is expected to remain above a level of service D for that intersection, even unsignalized. There's plenty of breaks in traffic for the number of people exiting the development and entering the development.
So you think most of it's gonna come out on Adams Dairy Parkway?
Yes, yes.
So it's 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. All that traffic's gonna come out of there, turning probably left, I'm guessing, going north to 40 Highway or I-70. It's a lot of traffic coming out of there at one time.
Right, yes, it is. There will be some traffic filtering through the neighborhood. Possibly school traffic would make a lot of sense to come through there to filter through the neighborhood to the school, back to the school. But we are expecting that. The counts that were taken there does show that there's a very strong north-south division in traffic between the AM and PM. But with the number of vehicles there, expecting to leave single-family homes, we are expecting a level of service D, which I can tell you what the expected delay is for that movement. So approximately a 40-second level of delay for.
Yeah. I just surprised, I'm very surprised that there's not going to be a traffic signal put in that spot there. Especially with the school right north of there and all that traffic coming through there. So, I mean, that's just my question. I'm just having a hard time understanding why there would not be a traffic signal put in there to control traffic a little bit.
To warrant a traffic signal, we have to hit a certain number of vehicles throughout the day, not just during the peak hours. Because a lot of times, if we have a traffic signal installed and there isn't consistently a need for it throughout the day, people start to ignore it or think that they can make, take that yellow just a little bit too yellow leading into red, and then we can increase crashes actually if we install a traffic signal that does not meet the warrants. And the warrants that we generally start with, we do look at peak hour, but 4 hour, 8 hour, and 12 hour warrants are what we look at. So we like to see 12 hours of consistent traffic in both directions, not just north-south, but in east-west. So likely this could be a signalized intersection in the future, but the trips being generated by this development don't trigger the need for it. Possibly when something is developed on the other side, that could trigger the need, because we really don't want to put in something that's maintenance and can increase crashes because it's not warranted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the commission? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the project? Have you been sworn in?
Yes, sir.
Could you state your name and address for the record?
Jeff Seams, 29203 Southeast Ryan Road, Blue Springs.
Thank you. What would you like to share with us?
Just for transparency, my wife and I own the farmland across the street, and our family actually owns this parcel that this property sits on. I've sat through many city council meetings and heard a lot of discussion about what Blue Springs needs and what the residents want. You hear just recently the project at Duncan and ADP. They didn't want the commercial and multifamily apartments. What you heard plenty of is we want more affordable housing in Blue Springs, single family houses. This project meets that need. People want less multifamily. Again, that's not a factor on this property. People are worried about zoning, what goes in. This property is surrounded by other residential, so it fits there as a natural fit. People I've heard mention multiple times of they're worried about crowding of the schools when a new housing development comes in. As someone that works with the Blue Springs School District, they plan for these things. They plan 10 years out of where all the developments are going, making sure that as the school's needs are increased by developments coming in, that they have the capacity to grow the buildings where they need them. This project fits so much of the need. People are wanting more affordable housing. The price point they're trying to hit here is much more affordable than a lot of the housing developments that have been talked about around the community. So, it is a different concept. It's a slab home, but that's one of the ways they're cutting costs is by not having the extra expense of a basement. So I ask that you look favorably on this project.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the project? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition of the project? Have you been sworn in?
I have been. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Jeremy Powell.
You said you have or you have not?
I have been, yes.
Okay.
My address is 905 Southeast Cypress Lane, Blue Springs, Missouri. As we all know, a PUD plan is to enhance the development. All I see here is a floodplain, a power line easement not being utilized, and a very small park. The city has a compact lot, which is the smallest lot that the city allows. Its minimum lot width is 35 feet. We're proposing 32 feet wide on some of these lots. So it doesn't even meet the requirement of a compact lot in Blue Springs. We're being clever here by not developing the southern portion where you would have to stick with that Parkview Estates minimum square footage of 1,600 square foot. The Pines, which is across the street, they do not consider Adams Dairy. Since there's a street, they don't have to adhere to our minimum requirements. We have 2,000 square foot minimum homes. Property values will go down. In the Pines, they currently are $550,000 to $700,000. Now we're talking about $280,000 packed on a trend, which is a very minimum lot size. That trend will fade over time, and we're gonna have a bunch of houses on minimal lots that just will not be desirable lots for the city of Blue Springs. We say this is a unique development. We have this on Adams Dairy. We have it south of major roads with the rear loaded. This is nothing unique. This is a trend. I know I have 3 minutes, so I'm flying through this. Keystone Estates, those are split levels. They are around 1,000 foot, but when you add the split level, they're about 1,500 foot of livable square footage. Again, my house is over 3,600 with a finished basement. I'm pushing 5,000 square foot. Regarding schools, last year, the school district was redone where anything on the east side of Adams Dairy was taken out of Cordell Mason and moved to William Bryant. I know the school district gets a copy of all these. They never do respond. But this is putting all these houses in Cordell Mason, which is already overstacked based on the developments down on Major Road and Adams Dairy. I know this property is going to get developed. I am pro-development, but this is not the right fit for this area, especially at the 1,100 square foot homes. And for that, I'll close my conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition of the project? Please come forward. Have you been sworn in?
I have.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Cindy McCoycheck, 909 Southeast Cypress Lane. We moved here about almost 20 years ago, and that was the development of the Pines. And during that time, we were told that Adams Dairy had recently opened up at that time, and we were told that the south part of Adams Dairy would be a higher end development for the Blue Springs area. So we bought into the Pines. And now I'm seeing subdevelopments, I consider subdevelopments, of 8 to 10 homes on an acre, which to me is like just packing people in. I did talk to one of my neighbors is a teacher at William Bryant, and I asked, could this, that type of homes, this many homes, be sustained in the school? And she said, no, they're crowded already. Now, recently, we also the city approved a school enhancement for several $1 million to enhance. That probably doesn't affect any of the schools that we're talking about here, Daniel Young or William Bryant or Cordell Mason. I just feel that this is an adverse impact to my neighborhood, the housing values of all the surrounding. I also want the Planning Commission to take under consideration when you do approve the rezoning, you're also rezoning the part that they're not developing, which would then again be rezoned for similar type houses right against the Parkway Estates and across the street from the Pines. So if you do want to approve this, I would like you to take consideration of that, and maybe it needs to be modified and you need to reconsider this at another time. So I just think it's an adverse effect on my home and all of those in the Pines, as you've already heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Thank you. The public comment section of the public hearing is over. Any further discussion from the staff?
We'd be happy to answer any questions that the Planning Commission may have with the items that were brought forward by the residents, or I do believe the applicant wanted to retain the right to be able to speak to the Planning Commission to refute any of the comments as well. Just one point of clarification is the future planning area 3, although it's being zoned to PD residential, as part of this, the future planning area does not have any development standards associated with it, and therefore would need to come back for a plan development amendment or its own plan development concept plan, which would establish the development standards and lot sizes and housing sizes, setbacks, all of that for that southern portion. So that is essentially being left blank at this time.
Thank
And
you,
then
Mr.
if
Mellon.
council has any questions for staff, we're happy to answer them. Commission, or for the applicant.
Any questions from the commission?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
I don't recall what the minimum standard is for frontage versus garage door space.
In terms of
it says in one of the places in the materials, the garage may exceed 25% of the facade, of the front facade. And on the Carlisle, Cooper, Mitchell, and Ridgeland floor plans, it looks to me like the garage well exceeds over 50% of the front facade. And we had a project come through a while back, and this is something I'm a stickler with, is that it seems like some of these floor plans, especially when you sit so many homes per lot, that so much of the home is garage. And I heard the applicant state that they're I forgot how they worded what they're gonna do with the garage doors, but what usually ends up happening is typical builder or slightly above builder grade garage doors, and it looks just more. I think it could, I think Blue Springs could look nicer if this were nicer, when the homes have such a huge percentage of garage space. So, decide for that. It's kind of a question in the mix of my comments. What is the rule for garage, the frontage?
I can answer that part.
Thank you.
Think about the other stuff.
I'll take the second.
Yeah, the technically with the compact lot, this is kind of a mix of compact lot and small lot, so we were kind of taking the more restrictive standards and applying them through this process. The compact lot has to follow the multifamily design standards, which is our residential design standards, and that does not allow for more than 25% of the front facade to have garage coverage. So that is why they're requesting to allow for more than 25% of the front facade to be covered with the garage, because this technically has to comply with that part of the code.
Yes, and those multifamily design standards were really not written for a single-family house. And so there are
Right.
many other developments that aren't in the compact lot category, if you will, that may have a 3-car garage or a 4-car garage, especially some of our larger houses, our half-acre lots down in the estates at Chapman Farms and such that have 4-car garages, that garage far exceeds 50% of that house. But because they're utilizing the compact lot building type standard or closest thing, they're required to meet multifamily design standards, which were designed and written for a multifamily building, not a single family house.
Thank you. Any further questions from the commission?
It referenced, there's no established minimum livable floor area space. The UDC states that the planning commission shall designate. The applicant is proposing 1,100 square feet. Are we designating by virtue of approving or disapproving of this, or how does that designation process work of the planning commission?
That's how that would work.
Yeah, the planning commission would be establishing it through approval.
Okay.
If approved of the preliminary plat and general development plan, would be establishing a minimum livable floor area for this subdivision as requested by the applicant.
Okay.
Any further questions, Commissioner Henry?
Not at this time.
Any other commissioners? If that's the case, I will close the public hearing.
I think the applicant wanted
sorry.
to address.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Could you state your name again?
Dan Foster with Schlegel. Just a couple of things I wanted to be clear on. So on the lot width, it's 32 at the right of way, and we have 35 at the building setback where the house actually sits. So we are in compliance with that particular portion of the compact lot. We just did it at 32 so that the dimension that showed up on the plan that said 32, that way there wasn't any confusion, I guess, so to speak, about, well, is it 32 or 35? So we are 35 as it sits at the setback line, which is how the code reads. And then another clarification is that we did talk with the school district, Rosh Coleman did, and they didn't see any issues with this particular project at this point. So we actually physically met with them and presented it to them. So I just wanted to bring that up. I think there was a mention that the density is 8 to 10 dwelling units per acre, which is not correct. It's 2.7 across the entire thing. And if you take out the future development tract, it's 3.4 units to the acre. Low density, single family in your neighborhood district allows up to 5 units per acre. So we are below even what is allowed under standard subdivision. And then as far as the property values and all of that thing, I just wanted to point out that our lot sizes are comparable to Keystone Estates, and not lot size, but built house sizes are comparable to the 11,007 that the staff mentioned. So we are compatible. The other developments are farther from us, and we don't actually even touch them, so to speak. And so this area on your own C2 area plan is shown as detached, small scale mix, and it also is detached multifamily mix. So it's kind of a combination of two things. So on that particular comp plan that's been approved by the city, this is what was proposed. And so we're bringing that to you. So I just wanted to point that out to you to clarify those couple of things for you and for the residents so that they understand why this project is here today. So that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Would the commission like to respond to the applicant's statement? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, if there are no other comments, I will close the public hearing. I will now ask for a motion on the rezoning. Chair, I have a motion from Commissioner Graham.
I would move to recommend approval of the rezoning RZ 12-23-8998 for Adams Ridge.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Henning. This will be a roll call.
Excuse me, Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Commissioner Henning,
No.
Commissioner Sanderson,
No.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
No.
Commissioner Howe,
Aye.
Commissioner Morton,
No.
Commissioner Rohr,
No.
Chairperson Craddock.
No. This motion was denied. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, April 1st, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. I will now ask for a motion on the Plan Development Concept Plan.
Chair.
I have a motion from Commissioner Howe.
Chair, I recommend approval for the Plan Development Concept Plan PDC 122389999 with the 3 staff conditions.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Graham. This will be a roll call.
Commissioner Stokenberry? No. Commissioner Sanderson?
No.
Commissioner Henning?
No.
Commissioner Graham?
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr?
No.
Commissioner Morton?
No.
Commissioner Howe?
Aye.
Chairperson Craddock.
No. This motion was denied, and this item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, April 1st, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. I will now ask for a motion on the preliminary plat.
Chair,
A motion from Commissioner Howe.
motion to approve preliminary plat PP 1223900 with the 6 staff conditions.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Graham. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. That motion was denied. I will now open the public hearing for agenda item 5, General Development Plan GDP-02-24-9040 for Hudson Estates. Agenda item 7, preliminary plat, will be heard concurrently. I will ask for exhibits from our city attorney, John Mullane.
Staff admits exhibits 1 through 8, item number 5, as shown on the agenda.
Thank you. At this time, I'll We'll ask for staff's presentation, Mr. McCumber.
We need sworn in, please.
Raise your hand if you want to be sworn. I'll swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. All right. This is a planning application submitted from Kyle Miller of Crockett Engineering Consultants on behalf of the property owner, Century Real Estate LLC, for a property generally located east of 7 Highway, south of Cordell Mason Elementary, and north of the Eagles Ridge subdivision. The application includes a general development plan for a 60-unit apartment complex located in an MF14 moderate density multifamily residential district. Also with the application is a preliminary plat to establish right-of-way for Southwest Hudson Drive, establish tracks A and B, and establish lots 1 and 2 of the general development plan. The existing land use on the property is considered vacant and undeveloped. The proposed land use is multifamily housing. The proposed building type with this application is an apartment complex. The city's comprehensive plan and future land use designation has this area designated as mixed density neighborhood, which is defined as areas for residential living arranged in a neighborhood pattern with access to supporting uses. Net densities for these areas is typically 5 to 12 units per acre. A range of housing formats, institutional uses, or micro-commercial uses that are compatible with neighborhood scale may be incorporated at strategic locations. The applicant is proposing to construct a 60-unit single-story apartment complex that consists of 6 fourplex and 6 sixplex buildings and a community building. The general development plan area is approximately 15.27 acres in size and is comprised of 2 lots. Approximately 60% of these lots are proposed for the development within this application. The remaining balance of lots 1 and 2 will remain undeveloped until a separate application is submitted in the future. The apartment buildings are inward facing, turned away from the proposed public street, and will be accessed from private drives and parking lot areas. The buildings utilize 4-sided architecture with brick, stone, and vinyl siding. Each unit is provided with a covered entrance. The apartment complex building type requires a minimum of 40% open space, 10% of which shall be active open space. The applicant is proposing 43% open space and 10.1% open active space by providing 2 outdoor amenity areas, a pedestrian circulation system, that allows residents to walk the entire development. The internal sidewalk system connects to the public sidewalks along the proposed Southwest Hudson Drive. The development will be required to construct a residential collector street, Southwest Hudson Drive, and when fully constructed, it will extend from 7 Highway on the west to the development's eastern boundary and terminate with a temporary turnaround. Along the public street, a limits of no access is proposed to limit the number of access points along its frontage and improve pedestrian and vehicular safety. A traffic impact study was performed and provided to city staff for review. In conclusion of the report, staff agrees that there will be minimum impacts to traffic in the immediate area once this development is completed. Landscape buffers are required along Southwest Hudson Drive, the west and south property lines for lots 1 and 2. If the undeveloped lot areas of lots 1 and 2 are proposed for development in the future, compliant landscape buffers for the east and south property lines will be required within those areas at that time. Within the development area, the south property line of lot 2, which is adjacent to Eagles Ridge subdivision, will have a 15-foot tree protection area easement. The applicant has chosen to preserve the dense tree line between the two developments instead of removing the mature vegetation to establish a new landscape buffer. Staff recommends approval of the general development plan with 2 conditions. Staff also recommends approval of the preliminary plat with 8 conditions.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for staff? Would the applicant like to come forward and speak? Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening. My name is Kyle Miller. I'm with Crockett Engineering, 1000 West Nipong Boulevard, Columbia, Missouri. I'll try to keep it brief to not reiterate everything Mr. McCumber said tonight, but I wanted to go into a little bit more detail on a few items. So again, my name is Kyle Miller with Crockett Engineering. With me tonight is Dan Sanders with Mako Development, developer on the property. All right, so a brief overview of our development in addition to what was already stated. The entire preliminary plat is a 25.17 acre parcel. It is currently zoned MF14 for the area that which we are developing, and no rezoning request will be required. Before you today, we are requesting 2 tracts on the western side and 2 lots on the internal and eastern portions. Of that 2 lots, there is a 60-unit development contained with 2-bedroom units, single stories. There'll be a front and a back porch on these units. There'll be 6 plexes and 6 fourplexes, along with the community building and the other amenities already stated. With that, that puts us under 4 dwelling units per acre on lots 1 and 2 combined. This is a senior-only 55-plus age restriction development, so you must be 55-plus older to live in that development. No one younger can live there. Now, that is an agreement that will be made between the signee and the developer. Of course, you know, you're allowed to have your grandkids over. You can't not have them over, but at the same time, you have to be that age to be living there. And of course, this development will meet all of City of Blue Springs codes and regulations without design adjustments. All right, you've seen this picture, but here is the preliminary plat layout with our tracks on the west side, and then the lots in the center, lots 1 and 2, lot 1 on the north and lot 2 on the south, within the internal street running through the middle, Southwest Hudson Drive, and the private streets with parking lot. There you go, thank you. Parking lot with the buildings facing on the inward direction. So a couple highlighted points I'd like to go over here. Items of interest will be the comprehensive plan, traffic, stormwater, and landscape buffers. First one. Next slide will be the comprehensive plan. So City of Blue Springs has this classified as an S1 specific plan area. That is, allows for the mixed density neighborhood. One part of that is that the zoning separation for those developments. We are the exact definition of that we have the general business zoning on the west along with Highway 7, and then on the east side there is the single family residential, and we're going to be dividing that and splitting those 2 different density high on the west side and single family on the east with our multifamily development. In addition to that, the specific plan wants to see the connective local street network that abuts and connects to Highway 7. And again, that's what we will be providing here with Southwest Hudson Drive, going through the property and connecting to Highway 7 to create that corridor. Here's an overview of what I was just speaking about with our general business zoning on the west side, single family on the east, and that MF14 right there in the middle to divide that. All right, next it will be our traffic. We will be developing a city standard collector street, 60-foot wide pavement with 60-foot right of way with 32 foot of pavement. It will meet all city standards with sidewalk on both sides, landscaping throughout. And again, this will be a senior only development. So therefore, it has been found typical with this development or any other senior development that seniors usually have less traffic. There's usually even less cars or reduced cars compared to the number of residents that are living in those facilities. With that, less traffic at peak flows. A lot of times, whenever they're out running their errands, they're not doing that at the same time as going to soccer practice or the peak 7 to 8 in the morning hours. In addition to that, we have had a traffic impact study done for this development. We are currently coordinating with MoDOT. There has been discussions with MoDOT. They have seen the traffic report, and we are currently working on any recommendations for that and with them. So real quick, for our stormwater water quality, this will meet all city Blue Springs codes for the municipal code. Detention basin will be installed for this development to reduce the peak runoff for the storm events, as well as water quality will be met with specific BMP facilities. All right, and last item here I want to go over is our landscaping. So I know it was already hit upon, but just to reiterate, this development will have parking lot and street trees as required, as well as a landscape buffer. Landscape buffer to the west of the general business will be as code requires. And then to the south, instead of choosing to tear out all of the trees, come back and plant a tree spaced every 20 feet as the code would require, we're going to leave a 15-foot natural tree easement in that corridor. It's going to create a much more of a buffer and a screening to the neighborhood to the south. So can you zoom in there on the south side of that? So there in that hatched area is where we're going to have that 15-foot buffer that would extend the entire length from there all the way to where the edge of the development would be stopping at this time. And so there is a little bit of room to still allow utilities to work on that southern side, and then we'll have that 15-foot buffer. And the next slide will show what it looks like now. And as you can see on the slide, it's going to be much more dense, and if we were to rip all those out and come back, you'd be able to see through it a lot easier than just leaving the way it is. And we did have a meeting with the neighbors, and I know that was a concern, and this is kind of hopefully a way we can meet in the middle and agree to provide that screening for them. So in conclusion, the usage of this development meets the intent of the zoning. We did have a neighborhood meeting on the 13th of March to hear the concerns of the local residents. We are providing all stormwater control. This does meet the goals of the Blue Spring Comprehensive Plan, and this does come recommended to you for approval with staff without any other alternative design standards. Be happy to answer any other questions at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant from the commission?
Chair?
Commissioner Sanderson.
Yeah, thank you. On that neighborhood meeting, what was the attendance like?
Mr. McCumber was there, and I believe we had about 10 to 12 other residents.
Okay. And I guess, I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but I guess the connectivity or lack of connectivity to some of the existing roads kind of caught me off guard with this one just kind of being an island there. I guess
Yep.
maybe it's
I'll be happy to answer
better,
that.
but yeah, if you could
Be happy
talk
to
to
answer
that
that
maybe
one.
a little bit.
So yes, and actually if you could go to any of the pictures of the site plan, that'd be great. In addition to that, one of the concerns of the neighborhood meeting was having that connectivity where people would be coming through. So not only in addition to what we'll continue on, but that is one concern that the neighbors had. So not having that would address their concern. In addition to that, 3rd Street, there really wasn't any discussion of extending that street going forward to the north. 5th Street, a little further to the west, believe that that could be extended in the future should tracks A and B ever be developed. If tracks A and B ever do get developed in the future, that will have to come back before you for a preliminary plat and a general development plan. That is beyond the scope of this development. I'm not for sure, what the intent of that ever would be, but I believe 5th Street, it is on the plan to have that connectivity in the future, should it be developed. In addition to that, we are extending Southwest Hudson Drive to have that connectivity to the neighborhood to the east, to extend that corridor all the way through, should it get developed in the future.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions from the commission?
What do you expect your rents to be?
I'm sorry?
What do you expect your rents to be?
Price-wise?
Yeah.
Or I'll let Dan Sanders with Mako be able to answer that question for you.
The rents will generally be,
Could you state your name?
I'm sorry, Dan Sanders, Mako Development Company, 111 North Main Street, Clarkton, Missouri.
Thank you.
Generally, these rents will run, for the majority of the units, about $750 a month. That'll include water, sewer, trash, and all maintenance. These are for seniors on a fixed income. There will be some that will be up to $900 a month. And then for special needs residents, there are some at $550 a month, but there's just a couple of those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Henry, any other further questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the project? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to the project? Would you please come forward? Have you been sworn in?
I have not. I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mark Adams. My address is 405 Southwest Nelson Drive, Blue Springs, Missouri. We live in the property just to the south of the proposed apartment complex. We just moved into our house about a year ago. We paid about $500,000 for it. We have a very nice tree line in our backyard, which we know that it's not guaranteed for us, but it is a nice buffer, 15 feet deep. If they leave a 15-foot deep tree line, that will be very sparse. It's not much of a buffer. We know something's going to go in there, and I really don't have a problem with senior apartments going in, but we would ask for some better buffer between us and them. It just, that's what we asked for. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Have you been sworn in?
I have not, sorry. Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Teresa Davidson, and I live at 401 Southwest Nelson Drive, Blue Springs, Missouri. So we also have just moved in about a year ago, and same thing, they're our neighbors. You know, the tree line is beautiful. We've, got expanded patios and everything else back there. And we knew eventually maybe something would be put in there. We understand that. But we've recently also surveyed our land, and it does go back like 2-3 feet beyond what the tree line starts at. So if they're doing 15, I think they need to, at least look where our land starts or ends before they do their 15 feet or whatever. If they could extend that, it would be great, because, there again, we've also spent a lot of money on our house, and want to keep up those values. I know they said that they have other developments. I don't know if you guys have done any kind of study of the homes, the
Direct your
neighborhoods.
questions to us, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if they've done any kind of study of the homes around the other developments that they have, as far as, values. Do they go up? Do they go down? In the last year, ours have risen. We don't want it going down because, some apartments get put in. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Are there any other opposition out there? Okay, any further discussion from the staff?
Nope.
Well, I guess I better say the public comments of this section public hearing is over. Is there any further discussion from the applicant? Would you like to respond to anything anybody said? I'd like to know what how you feel about the questions about the buffering that they suggested.
Kyle Miller, Crockett Engineering. Yes, so we believe that the 15-foot buffer is actually going above and beyond what the city would be required by code. It's an addition to. On top of that, there is a utility easement that's going to be wrapping around the property, and it's most likely on the property to the south as well. So with that being said, the trees in that area could be removed simply for the utilities. So we're choosing to come off of that from the utility easement in addition to, then put the landscape buffer. So in theory, if a utility company wanted to come in there, they could clear all those trees out anyways. So we're taking that next step above and beyond that, separating it from the utility easement and then adding the buffer that's above the city code. on top of that.
Okay,
Does that help answer the question?
yes, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I just actually have a question on the same thing. I mean, it seems like it's a very small item to be fixed to please the other residents that's around there, just to increase the buffer based on maybe what they would like. I mean, for development this big, it just seems like that's a small item. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, if I was a developer, I would rethink that and go back and see what we can do to please the people around you.
Sure, I understand that. In addition to that, the site also has to be graded. We will have limited access. We want to make sure we provide our residents as well with a little bit of a backyard. So in addition to the grading, as well as to provide the residents with a backyard, I don't think, I'd say there is room to increase it maybe a little bit, but we want to make sure we provide, our residents with ample space, as well as allow room for it to be constructed and built on top of that.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion from the commission?
Chair? Yeah, just a question for staff. Yeah, can you clarify the code requirement for the landscape buffer there?
Yeah, so there's kind of three options here when exploring buffering along the single-family residential. So the first of which would be our type A buffer, which is an option of either a 7-foot wide, more densely planted new plantings, or a 15-foot wide where it's a little bit less dense with vegetation. That would be where they would clear out everything that exists and then reestablish brand new trees or shrubs, things of that nature. This third option here, this tree preservation area, is a separate section of the code that can go in place of those new buffer requirements by establishing a buffer area of existing vegetation. It cannot exist within a utility easement of any sort, so that's why there's 10 feet utility easement from the south property line to the north, and then that buffer starts. There's currently vegetation already in the utility easement, so whatever is within that utility easement could be cleared out, except for once they get on this side of it within that tree preservation area, that all would have to be retained on the property. So going with this option does allow for 15 feet in width, which is the most width that we could require even if it was brand new, and then retaining the existing vegetation at its mature stage versus kind of starting over again with new plantings. So
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Did you have anything else to comment? Okay, thank you. I have a question for the staff. It's twofold. Were there any letters of opposition, and was there a traffic study done?
There was a traffic study done, and Public Works is here. They could speak more specific if you have a certain question on that. And then we did not receive any letters of opposition on the project.
Okay. Thank you. Any other further questions from the commission? I will close the public hearing. I will now ask for a motion on the general development plan.
Chair?
I have a motion for Commissioner Sanderson.
I'll move to approve General Development Plan GDP 02249040 Hudson Estates with the 2 staff conditions.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Howell. This will be a roll call.
Commissioner Henning,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokenberry,
Aye.
Commissioner Howe,
Aye.
Commissioner Morton,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Chairperson Craddock.
Aye. This motion carried with 2 staff conditions. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Monday, April 1st, 2024 meeting at 6 p.m. I will now ask for a motion on the preliminary plat.
Chair.
I have a motion from Commissioner Henning. Commissioner Sanderson,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
No problem. I'll move to approve preliminary plat PP 02249041 Hudson Estates with the 8 staff conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Howell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carried with 8 staff conditions. Okay, the next item on the agenda is agenda item 9, site plan design review with alternative development standards. SPDR-01-249034 for Timothy Lutheran Church. At this time, I will ask for the staff's presentation. Mr. McGee.
Yes, I do. Jamarcus McGee, 903 West Main Street, on behalf of the city, I've been sworn. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. The next item on the agenda is a site plan design review with alternative development standards for Timothy Lutheran Church to add a 4,800 square feet metal storage building on the front east side of the existing property at 301 East White Road. The proposed building, detached building, is classified as an accessory structure. Staff reviewed the request according to the site plan design review criteria for those standards to allow for the construction of the metal storage building. The proposed building addition meets all setbacks requirements and building design standards. However, the applicant is requesting a proposed alternative development standard as follows. Waive the requirement to allow for accessory structure located within the required front yard, street side yard setback. A front yard is defined as the front plane of the primary building, thus an accessory structure are not allowed to be located closer to the street than the primary building. Per the UDC section, accessory uses 405.0603A, no accessory structures other than a fence or non-loading bearing walls shall be located within the required front yard, street yard side setback. The proposed building is 1 story, approximately 4,800 square feet storage building with 3 overhead doors facing east. The applicant is proposing 4 feet tall rustic red wainscoting on all 4 sides of the facade. Staff believes the conceptual building renderings meets the intent of the building design standards. The applicant will be removing a few trees on the property for the construction of the new building, but the applicant is also proposing 4 additional trees to act as a buffer to the East White Road. Staff supports the alternative development standard as it will allow for the applicant to construct a permanent accessory building rather than relying on outdoor storage and temporary storage solutions such as shipping containers. Based on the review criteria for both the alternative development standards and the site plan design review, staff recommends approval of the site plan design review with alternative development standards with 2 conditions. I'll be happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for staff?
I do.
Commissioner Henry.
I see in condition 1, the approval is based on representations of the drawings presented, and there were no drawings present. On the latter part of the administrative pages, it mentioned that the building drawings, the staff knows what we are proposing based upon a meeting on August 17th of 23. While I have always known Timothy Lutheran to be an exceptional community partner, I'm slightly hesitant to approve anything without some kind of picture or rendering of what it may look like. How is it that we could address that?
On page 149, they provided this building elevation, but the applicant has also provided construction documents via the building permit, which show all four sides of the facades of the building and the wainscoting that's going to be proposed for the building.
Commissioner, is your question more about the site plan itself or about the building elevation?
The renderings of the building.
Oh, okay.
Condition 1 says it's
Right.
based on the representation of the drawings, and I if there's drawings, then I didn't see them in the packet.
Fair enough. Yeah, we do have a building permit in process, do we not, Jamarcus?
Yes, we do.
And it has, can you describe the elevation materials and whatnot?
As I mentioned, it's going to be a metal building with 4 feet rustic red wainscoting on all four sides of the facade building.
Commissioner Henning, is that enough to suffice your?
That answers the question. That there's, I don't think there's drawings, but yeah, and again, I would just like to emphasize again, while I've always known them to be a tremendous community partner, I have hesitation without seeing something or going off a building, scope of the building project, but perhaps we could add another condition that it's approval upon staff's approval of a rendering or a drawing. That'd be my recommendation.
Commissioner Stokenberry, you have a
And then
question?
did I hear that we don't normally approve buildings built in front of? So what are we thinking here?
That's correct. Typically, this would be well, this building is considered an accessory building. And under the current code, accessory buildings are not allowed to be in the front or street side yard of a building. In this instance, due to and that front setback or the front yard area is established from the front plane of the building to the street. And so due to the rather large setback of Timothy Lutheran from Wyatt Road, and that it's approximately 392 to almost 400 feet from the property line to the new accessory building. Staff is recommending approval of that because, and so that's why they're asking for the alternative development standard, is to be able to put that accessory building in front of the church. And because it's set so far back, staff did not think it would have a detrimental visual impact from Wyatt Road. So that's why we are recommending approval of that.
So nobody looked at putting it behind?
We did, as did the applicant, and there were some grading issues with trying to preserve as much of the existing tree canopy to the north of where it's proposed, and some grading issues with drainage that would have prevented it from being pushed a little bit further to the north on that side of the property. And then on the north side, coming from the west, directly behind the school, there's a few temporary classrooms in that location already. And so this is where the applicant has asked to put it.
Thank you.
The applicants can speak more on the reason why they want to put it here and not in the back.
Thank you, staff. Are there any further questions from the commission? Very good. Would the applicant like to come forward and speak?
Please.
Have you been sworn in?
I have not. Can you swear us both in, just in case there's technical questions?
Is there anyone here to swear them in?
It's not a public hearing.
Okay. Could you state your name and address for the record?
Louis Wilbers, 1116 Southeast Skyview Drive, Blue Springs, 64014. And Doug Schulte. I'm representing Timothy Lutheran. Doug Schulte Engineer for the annual Fall Festival. So we're taking about 3,000 or 4,000 square feet of material from, so we'd like to store it in this building. We're asking for this variance because the future plans of the church, where it says Lot 1 on the screen or on your design, that is our future entrance of our church. We plan to build on in 3 phases, additional schoolrooms, additional storage, and a new sanctuary. So then rather than building to the north, which I heard that question, it's a very good question, we're trying to preserve that look and feel off Major Road, which is why we're asking to put the building south and east of what's currently the front, but will not be the front in the future. And we have submitted a master plan for that in the past. It needs an updating, but it does show those additions for the future site. So that's really all I have to say. Is there any questions?
Thank you. Are there any further questions for the applicant from the commission?
Thank you for clarifying.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for clarifying.
Oh, you're welcome.
If there are no further questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from the commission? Very good. I'll now ask for a motion on the site plan design review with alternative development standards.
Mr. Chairman,
I have a motion from
I
Commissioner.
move to approve SBDR 01-24-9034 with 2 staff conditions, adding a third, that some sort of rendering be provided, and staff's discretion for approval of such congruent with what we've discussed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Rohr. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carried with 3 staff conditions, with 3 conditions. Is there any other business? The next scheduled meeting is Monday, April 8th, 2024. At this time, we will hear a presentation of the Annual Planning Commission report for 2023 from Ms. Bright.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for your hard work through the past year. The annual report is a comprehensive list of all applications submitted and reviewed in 2023. There are descriptions of those projects and what the final decision ended up being. We also included other planning, permitting, and development applications not reviewed by Planning Commission, but just for reference. In 2023, there were 81 applications submitted and heard by the Planning Commission. Most common plan types included final plats, conditional use permits, preliminary plats, and rezonings. Compared to 2022, we received and reviewed 19 less applications. Total applications reviewed by other boards and commissions are listed in the report. Also included are the administrative applications that were reviewed by staff. There were 3 admin site plan design review applications, 203 sign permits, and 1,154 building permits issued throughout 2023. The amount of building permits in the construction valuation did decline from 2022. This is in large part due to not having large residential projects and civic projects being approved and/or permitted. Many of the higher commercial construction costs can be seen along the I-70, 7 highway, and 40 highway corridors and Map 6 on page 30 in the report. Map 5 shows the residential building permits by subdivision. The subdivisions with the most building permits issued for new builds were Cambridge Park, Villas North at Chapman Farms, Eagles Ridge Estates PRO, Sunny Point, Stone Creek, and Edgewater at Chapman Farms. Throughout the entire city, there were 161 new dwelling units permitted in 2023, with 123 of those being single family. The city saw a lot of development throughout the past year, and as staff, we want to express our gratitude for all that you do and the time that you donate. So thank you, and we are here for any questions if you have any about the projects or any pop up later.
Thank you, Ms. Bright. Does the staff have any other business?
No, we do not.
Does the commission have any other business? If there is no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Stokenberry. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Morton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Good night.